Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good night. It is a beautiful, cold Friday night here in Edmonton. I am back with Mr. Bill Schuster. How you doing, Bill?
Armando. It's 105 degrees here. I've been out sunning in the. All right, not really. I'm lying. It's cold here too. Just not quite as cold as where you're at.
There we go. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing our series of top five albums of the 70s. We are at the year 1977. Now, we've each picked our top five albums plus two honorable mentions. Now, let me put this in a little bit of perspective for you. 1977. I was 7 years old at the time. Disco was at its peak. Yes. Saturday Night Fever. Every guy out there with a Tony Manero suit that was able to dance and shuffle his ass all over the dance floor and could get a date, they were in like Flynn. There you go. So we're gonna see how disco, if it has at all, influenced our list. I will again pass the virtual mic over to Mr. Bill Schuster for our number five of for his number five of 1977.
All right, thank you, Armando. Well, this time I'm going to get the Canadian content first. You've
Really?
already mentioned this band once. I have not, even though I do have some of their earlier albums and I like them, but this one is extra special. This copy I have here is kind of worn. I've got probably three other copies because this used to be a bargain bin special here in the States in the late 70s. Apparently, my parents got multiple copies of it. But this is Chilliwack with Dreams, Dreams, Dreams.
There we go. You were gonna mention, yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
mention that.
Yeah, I love this album. It's my favorite Chilliwack album. I own a number of them and I like them all to various degrees, but this is still my favorite. It's well, Bill Henderson is on every Chilliwack album.
Yeah,
He is
yeah.
Chilliwack, but this is, I would say, well, there are two. Well, there's multiple classic lineups, but Ross Turney, drummer in particular, I think was important to Chilliwack throughout most of the 70s before he
Yeah.
was later replaced by Ab Bryant uh, when they became a trio with Bill and Ab and Brian McLeod. But this is the four-man lineup here, and it's a very acoustic-based album. Lots of great guitar playing from Bill on here and singing. It's a great album to sing along to him. I'd asked my dad if he remembered. I was pretty sure when this album was only a year or two old, we were up in Alaska, and I asked him if he'd remembered singing "Baby Blue" with the band up there on the Air Force Base. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
said something along the lines, "I vaguely remember something like that." I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he did, but yeah, "Baby Blue" is a great song to sing along. Bill Henderson had a really gorgeous voice at this point in time. He had a really nice range. It could go deep, it could go high. Uh, Fly at Night in the Morning We Land is probably the most popular song from this album. And it was another one of those that got some play in the St. Louis, Missouri radio market back in those days. Something Better is another. I really love the lyric on Something Better. Not all the lyrics on this album are great. I mean, they're not bad. Some of them are kind of basic, but Something Better is a really strong lyric.
Mm-hmm.
Just quick example, the opening of it, people run like tired lemmings headed for the sea, borders of imagination, keeping them from seeing things. I just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite nice. And it closes with, well, actually, it closes with Fly at Night Reprise, which it opens with Fly at Night in the Morning We Land. But prior to that, the main full song closer is a remake of one of their earlier songs, Reno.
Oh
And I
yeah,
like
from
this
the
version better,
yeah,
actually.
from the subtitle. Sorry.
That's no, that's all right. I actually like this version better.
Okay.
They're both good, but yeah, this is my favorite. Yeah, so if you're in for a nice, almost singer songwriter type, mostly acoustic guitar based
Yeah.
album from this era, That's not too hard, not too light. I don't know, think bands like say Firefall, that kind of thing. That's kind of the territory they were inhabiting at this period in their career. And
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Fly at Night is still played on FM radio in Canada
nice.
repeatedly. Um,
That's awesome. I'm sure it might not be awesome if you have to hear it
no,
all.
it's a fantastic track. Very atmospheric. I was gonna say drums, guitars, just almost dreamy, like that kind of mixture of acoustic and electric guitar, just amazing. And Reno goes back to like 1970 when they were signed to Parrot Records, way back in the day. So yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. My number five, you jumped there again, so we're gonna have technical issues here, guys. Um, my number five is Jethro Tull with Songs from the Wood. Um, very autumn like album, autumn influenced album, even with the cover. Him sitting in the woods there, like in the clearing, with his legs crossed, and just very autumn like album. Uh, Title track, um, and Jack in the Green, Cup of Wonder, Hunting Girl, Ring Out Solstice Bells, which is like the most Christmas tinged track on the album. Uh, Velvet Green, The Whistler, just very acoustic based, a lot of flute on this, um, a lot of just very organic acoustic instruments and minstrel type of playing on this album. If and this was the first part of the trilogy that started with Songs from the Wood, then it continued with Heavy Horses, and then it finished with Stormwatch in 79. So very good album. If you can get your hands on a copy of the box set reissue, the book format, amazing, amazing set. If you can get it at a good price, please do. So that's my number five.
That's a great pick, and I'm glad you picked it because it was painful to leave that off my list. That's possibly my second favorite Toll album. Yeah, I love that album all the way through. The whole vibe, it's just such a consistent vibe and sound throughout it. It really takes you on a journey into the woods with, yeah.
Yeah, and even just to quickly, even the final track, "Fire at Midnight," like it paints the picture of of someone coming back from his day in the woods and just coming home and just resigning to the fact that he's so tired from his journey into the woods that he or she needs to go to sleep and just rest their bones after a tiring day in the woods. So I mean, yeah, it's just it's a it's not a concept album, but it has a theme running through it, like a thread through it. So yeah,
Yeah. It feels like a concept album, even if it's not, basically, yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Let's see. All right. My number four. This is another one of my favorite bands and probably a top three or four album for me in their catalog. It is Blue Oyster Cult with Spectres. Godzilla is undoubtedly the most popular song here, but it's one of my least favorites. I like Godzilla, but for me, this album is about deeper cuts, Golden Age of Leather, Death Valley Nights, and especially the closing tracks, I Love the Night and Nosferatu, or as they pronounce it in the song, Nosferatu.
Okay.
But
Yeah. They
yeah,
put the
the
emphasis on
closing
the long
tracks,
syllable.
what
That's,
I think I Love the Night and Nosferatu, they kind of have each has a vampire theme, so it's cool that they're placed back to back in the album. I Love the Night. I think the record company really dropped the ball on that. I think rather than pushing Godzilla. A follow up for Don't Fear the Reaper, their big hit from the previous album, I Love the Night would have been the song that I think they really should have pushed and
Mhm.
put their muscle behind to get it out there on the radio because it's a beautiful, catchy song. Maybe that's just me, but I've thought for years that should have been a hit.
Okay.
That was a failure of marketing. Uh, yeah, gorgeous song. It's a
Hmm.
toss up between that and Nosferatu is my favorite, with Death Valley Nights and Golden Age of Leather right behind. But the whole album's pretty cool, though.
Hmm.
Still the classic lineup of the album. It's their second album into their more individual writing and their more pop oriented phase.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call it a pop album, but they've moved into lots of catchy hooks and choruses.
Cool. Cool. Good choice. Um, Let me see. I'm gonna switch out two here. My number three is now my number four. Rush with a Farewell to Kings. Um, again with the Canadian content, ladies and gentlemen. Um, again, the album that they're known for, aside from 2112, with the title track, with the acoustic intro, the epic Xanadu
Yeah.
with lyrics of feasting on honeydew. Um, the only two tracks on side one. Side two starts off with Closest to the Heart. Uh, Other songs are Madrigal, Cinderella Man, fantastic. The epic album closes Cygnus 10 or X1 Book 1, which would conclude on Hemispheres. Um, this was where Rush again, they started with 2112 doing the side-long epics, but I mean, they continued on this album. Uh, they recorded this album in England. Their albums are going from strength to strength, and just because it's number four doesn't mean I like it any less. Um, but I think again, the reason why it's number four is because it's overplay. I mean, Xanadu was 11 minutes and change, and it's still played on FM radio. Uh, you know, everyone knows Closer to the Heart. And Closer to the Heart was originally supposed to be the name of the album, but they changed it to a farewell to Kings. And amazing, just an amazing album. That's my number four.
It's obviously a very strong pick. Um, yeah, it's Closer to the Heart was actually probably the first Rush song that really caught my attention and made me go out and buy that album. That this was the first Rush album I think I ever owned. I didn't buy it in the 70s, mind you. I didn't get it until the mid 80s. I was kind
Mhm.
of a latecomer to the Rush camp and oddly went back and started with the 70s album. But
Yeah. No, just
and
quickly, my neighbor Eddie, who introduced me to Queen and stuff, also had all the Rush albums and played them at nauseum. And he literally was two doors down from where we were. Yeah. It's influence, man. It's influence.
it
So,
is. Yeah, I had a couple friends when I was in Colorado as a teenager that were exactly like that. That they introduced me to a lot of bands like Rush and Blue Oyster Cult, uh, different more hard rock or progressive rock bands, stuff like that that my parents didn't necessarily get into. So I wasn't exposed to them from them. Yeah, it's cool to have those musical influential friends like that.
yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. All right.
All right, my number three. Yeah, they're back again. Of course they are. Um, Steely Dan, Asia. This had to be here. Yeah, Asia's legendary. Many people think it's their best. It's not my favorite, but it's not far off. I adore this album. It is sonic perfection. Yeah, I can't argue with it. Uh, Yeah. And again, it's one of those, I think side one is stronger than side two. We've got a lot of those. Side two is still very good, but side one is just so strong. And
Yeah,
again, it's another album with three songs on the first side:
yeah.
Black Cow, Asia, and Deacon Blues. I think
Hmm.
Deacon Blues might be my single favorite Steely Dan song.
Hmm.
Yeah, I still get all emotional singing along with that. It's just such a powerful, powerful song musically and lyrically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Asia, of course, the title track itself is just sublime. It's gorgeous. It's yeah, the Steely Dan fans know this one, obviously.
Hmm.
These are little, you can see what they're down to. No band, Donald and Walter, they're the only ones that get a picture.
Yeah.
So that's the evolution of what was the Steely Dan band into what became the Becker and Fagan show, for better and for worse, depending
Yeah.
on your perspective. But
Sure enough.
I wouldn't change anything because I like the whole catalog. So I'm glad we got what we got. And,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sure for many people this would be their best album of the year, and yeah, I wouldn't hate them for that. So
Hmm. I hear you. And that is my number three.
nice.
Again, guys, we did not talk about our lists or compare. For everything that you said, to me, this is the this is where they were at their zenith. Um, with what they wanted to do, a mixture of modern jazz, R&B, put both genres in a blender, and musically, this is what you get. You get Asia. This is the kind of album that you can put on and just listen to, or even being like sitting in a bar, like in a cafe, in a jazz cafe kind of thing. You could sit there and listen to it, or even just listen to them play this on stage in a in a club type of setting, and it works, you know. Um, it's to me, it is perfection. Um, and every note on this album is crafted just so. It is just it's sculpted and molded, but also there's a looseness to it, like a vibe on it for these songs. And it is what it is. That's my number three.
Well, since we're repeating each other, my
Mm.
number two, more Canadian content, Rush, A Farewell to Kings. This
Get your own. I know.
classic classic cover. This is again my old beat up copy that I've had for decades. It's been through the mill. Um,
Hmm.
there's a classic shot of the boys inside.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, uh, I could say yet again. Well, if I had to pick gun to my head, I'd say side one is slightly better, but side two is amazing also. Some people hate Madrigal. I absolutely disagree. I think it's beautiful. I've always loved Madrigal.
Hmm.
I love singing Madrigal. It's one of those that I've sung to my wife, I've sung to my kids to send them to sleep, that sort of thing. It's just a
Hmm.
gorgeous, simple little ballad with a nice, heartfelt lyric.
Hmm.
Yeah, but obviously the epics, Xanadu, Cygnus X1 are classics. I've
Hmm.
already mentioned Closer to Heart when you talked about it. I still love that song, no matter however played it is. And the title track, that thing kicks ass. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I prefer Neil's lyrics later when he got more introspective, more humanist, less about fantasy and historical stuff, but still, this is a pretty powerful lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be applied to more modern topics and not just to kings and
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely.
and Cinderella Man tends to get overlooked a lot, but I quite like that also. It's
Yeah.
an interesting oddity in that it's one of the few songs with lyrics by Geddy Lee.
I was gonna say, yeah, you beat me to it. It's good. Though. It's a good track. Yeah.
Yep, that is my number two.
Two.
So close to being number one, but there could be only one.
Yeah.
I bet you know what it is at this point.
I have no idea, which is cool. Which is cool.
Me either.
Okay, my number two is Pink Floyd with Animals. And you know, classic cover with the pig flying over, the building with the smokestacks. Um, there we go. Um, you know, five tracks. I mean, Pigs on a Wing, one, sheep, dogs. I mean, dogs comes after Pigs on a Wing. 17 minutes and change. Like just an amazing track itself, co-written by David Gilmour, a good combination of acoustic guitars and electric guitars. Just the whole arrangement of the track. The original title was called Raving and Drooling, and then they changed it to Dogs. Pigs, three different ones. Another fantastic track, 11 minutes and change. Um, Dogs, sorry, Sheep, another 10-minute track. Sorry about that. Um, just an amazing album. And it ends with Pigs on a Wing too. Apparently on the 8-track version of Animals, there's on Pigs on a Wing, there's a guitar solo that was removed from the cassette and the vinyl version. I think done by Snowy White. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was done by Snowy White. I'm not sure. But fantastic album. Um, if you can get the 2018 reissue version that was released in 2022. Don't ask me why. Please get it because it's a fantastic version. I've got it. I'm surprised Steven Wilson, if it's not Steven Wilson, I'm surprised he didn't do it, but it's a fantastic version of the album. So that's my number two. Let me guess, your number one.
You are correct. Yeah. Here we go again with your number two is my number one. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I believe, if I recall correctly, if this is accurate, I believe the reason that 2018 mix took 4 years to come out is because Dave and Roger, surprise, surprise, were bickering over liner notes.
Yeah, they were. They were.
Um,
And you know
that's
what?
how they rule. They hate each other. Let's keep it real.
You know what? Let's zip up our pants and put it back and just be, this is not a pissing contest, guys.
Yeah.
Be adults about it. Come on. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, this really is where Roger absolutely comes to the fore. And as much as I love the rest of the guys in the band, I'm all for it because Roger lets his venom fly here. He lyrically, this is where he really starts to take off and dig deep.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, Dogs Alone is just brutal. And he had to be the one to sing that song. Ah,
Yeah.
that is, it's so Roger. I think I will a little lyrical mishap I had with this album for the longest time. I didn't know about Mary Whitehouse and her role in being the censor, I guess, in the UK. And
Okay. Mm-hmm.
to me, as a teenager, when I was listening to this album, when he was saying, "Hey, you White House, haha, Sharad Yar," of course, I thought he was talking about the White House here in Washington, D.C., in the United States. I thought he was criticizing the US government as
Yeah.
opposed to, yeah. But it was a cool double meaning. I'm sure it was probably accidental, but you never know with Roger, maybe not.
You never know. Yeah, true enough. True enough.
But true to form, though, one of the best songs, well, the best song on the album, I think, is Dogs, and that is the one Waters Gilmore co write and has some wonderful playing from Dave, obviously.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
This. this is where they really start to get dark, and I'm okay with it because I love this era. I'm this one thing I realized with the 70s here. I ranked Rush, Queen, and Blue Oyster Cult above Pink Floyd among my favorite bands. This list is putting a lie to that. I've had three Pink Floyd albums as my number one pick for the year.
Okay. Hmm.
So I may need to rethink how I rate Pink Floyd. I've always loved them, but maybe not giving them credit enough. So yeah.
I think there's room for to include Pink Floyd along with Queen and Rush, and you know, don't put Queen below Pink Floyd. So, okay. My number one, we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. My number one is Meatloaf with Bat Out of Hell. Um, Released in October of 77. This thing took 2 years to record. Um, Call it theater rock, call it juvenile rock, call it teenage angst, whatever. This album kicks almighty ass from the start to the finish. 7 tracks on the album. Um, the roots start with this album from 1975 when you had Meatloaf and a songwriter by the name of Jim Steinman who were working together in um, a theatrical production of Hair, and they wanted to write music together. They started auditioning for record companies. Every record company turned them down. First go around. Their manager at the time thought that they were actually invented new record companies just to turn them down. That's how bad this album people thought this album was. Um, One of the only way they could record, the only way they could audition for these record companies was you had Jim Steinman, Meatloaf, and Ellen Foley, who was going out with Meatloaf at the time, go into their offices and start performing Bad Out of Hell. Well, when they did um, Paradise by Dashboard Light, when they got to the makeout scene, you had Meatloaf and Ellen Foley going at it, and they were thrown out of the offices. Um, Todd Rundgren decided he could do it. He recorded the album at his Bearsville studios. Um, he produced it, engineered it, arranged it. The original version of the track by Out of Hell was 45 minutes long. The original version of Paradise by Dashboard Light was 27 minutes long. Um, I mean, it is what it is. Fantastic production, fantastic songwriting, melodic, rocking, memorable, beautiful. You had the backing band, the majority of the backing band, I guess, for um, Utopia and the E Street Band on the backing for the album. So just an amazing album. 283 Ain't Bad was the last song to be written for the album. It replaced a track that's called More Than You Deserve. I thank God that they replaced it. From track 1 to track 7, every song is memorable. Every song works. There's no filler. It's all killer from start to finish. That's my number one.
That's an awesome pick. That was very difficult for me to leave out. And I was shocked that I did leave it out. But
Mm.
77, it's another strong year. Yeah, that's a masterful album. It's great. And I frankly, I kind of always felt like it should be equally credited in the title to Todd Rundgren and Jim Steinman along with Meatloaf.
Mhm.
Without them, that album would not exist. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah. And yeah, Todd Rundgren has done some amazing things in as a producer, as a background musician, as yeah, kind of a Svengali. I don't know. Yeah, it's he
Yeah.
tends to get left out of
Quite
the
a
I
bit,
think
actually.
general public's knowledge of a lot of stuff. But yeah, awesome album.
Mm.
Um, All right, my first honorable mention is going to be dun, 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 dun. Hey, I finally am bringing him back. It's Queen, News of the World, with the full fold out classic cover.
Mhm. It is a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, this everybody knows, of course, the big hits, the We Will Rock You, We're the Champions. They're great no matter how played out they are, but the classics, especially here, are good Lord, my brain just crapped out on me.
Okay,
I
that's
feel like I need to give up my Queen card. Spread your wings. Woo! Sorry, John, I couldn't think of your song.
okay.
It's one of my favorite Queen songs here, and I couldn't even think of it. Uh, yeah, Spread Your Wings is a lovely John Deacon song, which Freddie sings well, to say the least. But my favorite is, of course, the contender for my favorite Queen song is definitely among them is It's Late, the epic Brian May composition.
Mhm.
Can't say enough good things about this song. It gets me. You've talked about getting teared up about certain songs. This one gets me. It's just so powerful, so well recorded, so well
Mhm.
performed.
Yeah.
Yeah, all around, everybody brings their A game to this, and
Mhm.
this should be on any Queen compilation ever. It should be amongst their classics, but
Definitely.
sadly, it only seems to be the hardcore Queen fans that really know the song. So it never even made the live albums. So,
I know.
but yeah, News of the World, classic album, classic cover.
Yeah. If just quickly, if there was ever a live, like a concert that of Queen from 77 that would feature It's Late in the set list, if they could have ever released that as a live album, I'd be on that like a,
Yeah.
like white on rice. I'd be like, I'd be all over that. Um, my first honorable mention is Sticks with the Grand Illusion. I love the album. Um, the title track, Superstar, Angry Young Man, just, Come Sail Away. And then, ends off with the grand finale. I mean, like, which bookends the album. It's just, oh, come on. Just amazing. I remember as a kid being driven to school back and forth and hearing Come Sail Away on the radio. I was what, 7? I mean, and I remember, that I remember Dennis DeYoung's vocals and the way he could just soar with his vocals and just amazing, just an amazing track. And the whole album is good. It's just, you gotta put these somewhere, right? In terms of the listing, right? So that's my first honorable mention. Jesus Christ. Okay, you're next.
All right, another excellent pick there. And yeah, that one was just a hair outside too. I really wanted to put that on, but
Hmm.
boring as it may be, Come Sail Away remains my favorite Styx song too. And
Yeah,
as I get older, I find I dig it even more. I've always been a fan of these songs that are about aliens coming to take me away. Stacy
yeah.
used to give me crap about that because she thought I was wanting to get away from her. I said, no, 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 that's not it at all. Don't misunderstand here. But yeah, there's a lot of songs like that that are about aliens picking people up. And I love the twist in the lyric there where I thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, we
We
climbed
climbed
aboard the
aboard the
starship.
starship and
That's so
headed for
great.
the skies. Yeah.
And the follow up as an older person, of course, the opening lyrics, the whole reflecting back on the past. It's a perfect song musically too. The whole album's good, but
Just yeah, but just that lyric. I look to the seas, reflections in the waves spark my memories, some
yeah,
happy, some sad. I think of childhood friends and the dreams we had. Like it's just like oh my God, like I'm gonna start tearing up again. But anyways,
it's a great song. Yeah.
it is.
All right, good pick.
Thank
All
you.
right, I guess this is going to be the first appearance here. It's their second album. Um, you know him from working on albums like the Beatles' Abbey Road, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Alan Parsons.
But yes, sir, this is I, Robot, the second album from Alan Parsons Project. And I have to make sure to mention Mr. Eric Wolfson, the late great Eric Wolfson, who was every bit as important as Alan Parsons himself.
You damn right.
Because Eric was writing the songs. Uh, yeah, speaking of Alan, there he is with this great centerfold shot.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is probably my favorite Alan Parsons Project album. I like them all, but this so many great songs in there. I wouldn't want to be like you is the hit, and of course the title track "I Robot." The instrumental is probably their most famous instrumental, except for "Sirius" that goes before "Eye in the Sky," and that's probably only more popular because it was used by the Chicago Bulls as their
that's right. That's right.
yeah. But, Don't Let It Show. That's always been great. Pat Benatar covered it a little bit later, but I still prefer this version.
Yeah,
This, of course, continued their using multiple vocalists, which I think was one of the great things
yeah, yeah,
that they
definitely.
had. And day after day, the show must go on. Uh, that song kills me to this day. That lyric, because it's a song about reflecting on all the things, the dreams we had. Again, goes back to the "Come Sail Away" theme, I guess,
Yeah,
and all the dreams we had, and then realizing that it's probably too late, that we're never going to build those castles in Spain. And yeah, that's it.
that's hard. Oh
Yeah,
my
this is a
God.
rough song, but it's beautiful though.
Yeah,
A little soul crushing sometimes. Really think about it, and like, God, the things I thought I was going to do with my life. I don't have regrets. I love my family, but we all have those things that we could look back on when we were younger that I thought I was going to do. But yeah,
definitely.
brilliant, brilliant album. It's supposedly a concept album based on Isaac Asimov's stories, but I think that's a load of crap. I think it's just a bunch of random songs, but they're
That
wonderful
that
songs.
tie well together. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually had that on vinyl as well. It's a good album. My last honorable mention for the year of 1977 is David Bowie with Low. This album, released by RCA in early 77, was the start of the three albums that turned out to be dubbed the Berlin Trilogy, produced by Bowie with Brian Eno. This album, when it came out, did not do well. In fact, RCA wanted to bury this album, did not want to release it. A large majority of the tracks are instrumentals, songs like Speed of Life, Art Decade, um, Warzawa, which starts off side two, if I pronounce that incorrectly, sue me. But it's one of the, Warzawa is one of the more atmospheric, beautiful, textured, um, heavily uh, dependent on keyboard tracks ever written. A lot other songs are Sound and Vision. The single "Be My Wife" is another single from the album. "What in the World," A New Career in a New Town. But for me, the instrumental tracks um, really make the album. The instrumentation on it is very minimal on the album in terms of drums, etc. A lot of the instrumental, or a good amount of the instrumental tracks, were supposed to be used for the movie The Man Who Fell to Earth. But Bowie rescinded the tracks, took the tracks back when he found out that the producer for the film was taking submissions from other artists when he thought, because he starred in the movie, he thought he was going to be given carte blanche to supply music for the soundtrack. So he took those tracks and used them for this album. Again, it didn't sell very well, uh, but again, this was at a time where record companies, to an extent, maybe they were coming out of it at this point, but this was a time where record companies allowed the artists to indulge creative uh, sources, let's say, and come up with stuff that they liked it, whether it sold or not. They didn't care. Again, for the record companies, as long as they got product from their artists, if it meant bringing in a camel, wearing a diaper, smoking a cigarette into the studio, if it got the creative juices flowing, that's what they would do. So out came Low and followed up with Heroes and then Lodger. But this is the start of the Berlin trilogy. And again, in my very humble opinion, for the um, ultimate version, the definitive version of Warzawa, check out live. Um, sorry, there's two versions of it. Check out Stage from 1978 and from 2021, Welcome to the Blackout. Both live albums. Warzawa is on there. Check it out. You really should. And there
Good
you go.
call. Yeah, this had to have seemed like commercial suicide to the record companies at the time. And I
Yeah,
mean, he was coming off some pretty big success with Golden Years, Fame, Young Americans. Those songs were big for to go into this. They had to be shaking their heads. Yeah, I can see, but it's pretty cool. It's this whole the whole Berlin period really is kind of commercial suicide. It seems like, but he was doing what he wanted to do, and that's what great artists do.
yeah, and again, I mean, yeah, RCA literally wanted to bury the album, and he said, "No, we're going to do it. You're going to release it. Give me this shot. Give me this chance." And originally, people didn't like it, but over time, it's become a much uh, a much liked album, and it's gotten kudos from quite a few people. I mean, groups like Duran Duran have cited Low as, especially the drummer Roger Taylor from Duran Duran, has cited Low as an inspiration for him for drumming. Um, take from that what you will. Uh, but yeah, no, I actually like the album a lot. I really do. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our top five albums from 1977, plus two honorable mentions. Again, down in the comments below, down there, please put your picks for the top five albums. Any genre goes, disco, country, whatever you want to do. Put the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever if you want. Double album, who cares? Do whatever you want.
Good
You
one.
know what I mean? Like it's your choice. There's no judgment here. Even if you want to share a Lois and Bram album, like for the kids, those in Canada will know who Sharon Lois and Bram are. But again, it is your choice. So I want to thank Mr. Bill Schuster for joining me again on this episode. We've got two more to go to close off the 70s. It gets harder from here on out, folks. So, for Mr. Bill Schuster, I am Armando Venditti, bidding you a good night, and we will see you very soon with another episode. Bye for now.
78.